There is something about standing next to this truck that makes you stop and stare, and not entirely because you want to. The 2026 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro has arrived at the next gear channel in a color called Wavemaker. And before we even open the door, this machine is already asking for your opinion. You are either going to love it or you are going to walk past it pretending you did not notice. There is no middle ground with this one. This is Toyota's answer to every serious off-road truck on the market right now, and it comes loaded with a factory performance package that raises some interesting questions. Is it worth the premium? Is the suspension as capable as Toyota wants you to believe? And why, after all these years, is engaging four-wheel drive on a Toyota still the kind of experience that tests your patience? We're going to get into all of that, but first, if you are new here, welcome to the Next Gear channel. Hit that like button right now because the footage on this one is worth your support. Let us start at the front, because the front of this truck is where the conversation gets complicated. The approach angle on this generation of the Tundra, even in TRD Pro trim, is not the most generous figure in the segment. When you are looking at a truck wearing this kind of price tag, that matters. The front bumper is a combination of sections, and a good portion of what you see is painted plastic. Now, that is not automatically a bad thing. Plastic sections absorb impacts better and cost less to replace than steel. But matching a color like Wavemaker 2 or 3 years down the road, that is where it becomes a genuine concern. There are no recovery points up front either, which is something the aftermarket community will undoubtedly address quickly. Peek underneath the front end and the story improves. There is a skid plate protecting the undercarriage, which is the right call for a truck marketed to people who actually use trails. But the painted lower sections hang low enough that when you are behind the wheel on technical terrain, you are very aware of their presence. You find yourself calculating clearances that, on a different truck, you would not even think about. Now look at the suspension and the tone shifts entirely. The hardware underneath this Tundra is genuinely impressive. Toyota has dressed this suspension in a way that makes you want to spend time under there. TRD branded upper control arms, bright red coil springs, a matching red sway bar, and Fox shocks doing the actual work. These are not simply visual upgrades. The Fox shocks on this truck are a core part of why it rides the way it does, and when you get it moving at speed on rough ground, they justify their presence immediately. The faster you go, the better this truck feels, which is exactly the philosophy behind a true desert running setup. The wheels are BBS branded TRD units, and they look the part. The tires are fucking Wild Peak at trail rubber, and they are competent, but there is a visual mismatch that is hard to ignore. This is a large, commanding truck, and the factory tire size feels modest against that presence. Toyota's own racing division reportedly started with a TRD Pro platform and moved it to 37-inch tires, which tells you something about what the chassis is actually capable of. There are also credible rumors about a more aggressive factory package on the horizon. If that arrives in Wavemaker Blue, the conversation changes entirely. Speaking of performance, what is this TRD Performance Package, and is it actually worth the $3,000 printed on the window sticker? There are 4 items listed. The first is a dual-filter high-flow intake system with TRD branding, pulling air from both sides of the engine bay. The second is a catback exhaust system with an unusually shaped tip, closer to a hexagon than a circle, and large enough that it will be the first thing you think about when you spot a rock that looks just the right height. The third is a premium fuel reminder sticker on the fuel door, which Toyota apparently felt deserved its own line item. The fourth is a TRD badge. That is it. Toyota is not claiming a single additional horsepower from this package. The base output remains 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque from the twin-turbocharged V6 hybrid, and those are not small numbers on their own. The package is validated by Toyota engineers, and it does change the sound and potentially the power delivery curve in a way that raw figures cannot fully capture. But $3,000 is a meaningful sum for an intake, an exhaust, and a badge. Whether that is worth it depends entirely on how you feel about factory endorsement. The sound is worth discussing on its own. This is a hybridized powertrain, which means the exhaust note competes with an electric motor sandwiched between the engine and the transmission. At idle, the exhaust is composed, not aggressive, not understated. It sits in the right register for a truck that also needs to feel refined on the highway. Under real load, accelerating hard through a corner or climbing a grade, the character changes. The intake lets you hear the turbos working, and the exhaust opens up in a way that feels genuinely purposeful rather than artificially amplified. For a 6-cylinder hybrid in a full-size truck, it is a well-tuned result. Under the hood, those orange high-voltage cables are the most visible evidence of the hybrid system. The electric motor works with the combustion engine rather than replacing it, contributing to the torque figure that makes this truck feel far more effortless to drive than the horsepower number alone might suggest. And because it is a hybrid with a pressurized fuel system, even filling the tank requires a button press to open the door. The truck actively manages fuel vapor, so you ask permission before you add fuel. It is a small thing, but it is a reminder that this is a more complex machine than it appears from the outside. Around the back, the bed on this generation of the Tundra is composite material, a deliberate shift from the previous generation. It will never rust. It resists denting better than steel. The surface has enough texture to grip cargo without always needing a mat, though that is an option. Tie-down points are positioned in all 4 corners, and there is a rail system along the sides that lets you move anchor points to suit whatever you are carrying. Bed lighting is integrated and actually useful, and there is 400 watts of power available. Toyota also kept the rear sliding glass window, which remains one of the most practically underrated features on any truck. This truck also comes equipped with a panoramic roof opening, which alongside the bed puts it in genuine competition with luxury-focused full-size offerings. The interior on the TRD Pro is performance-oriented rather than purely luxurious. If maximum leather and chrome is what you want, Toyota offers that in a different trim. Here, the focus is on contrast stitching, grippy surfaces, and a steering wheel that carries the TRD logo at the bottom where your thumbs naturally rest. The feel of that wheel rim is notably good. Firm enough to feel substantial, textured enough to hold in your hand without effort. A red accent stripe runs across the top of the wheel, adding a visual reference point without making the interior feel like a racing simulator. The 2026 model year also offers active suspension seats, isodynamic units originally introduced on the Tacoma, as a roughly $1,000 option. In the larger Tundra cabin, the impact on rear passenger space is far less than it was in the smaller truck, making that option worth considering if you are the kind of person who notices seat movement on rough roads. The technology in this truck is current and comprehensive. The camera system alone is a generational leap over what the previous Tundra offered, multiple high-resolution views that make parking and tight maneuvering genuinely easier rather than theatrical. The previous generation ran for 14 years and earned its reputation, but the interior of that truck communicated its age clearly by the end of its run. This generation does not carry that feeling. There is one genuine frustration that deserves honest discussion, because you will encounter it the moment you try to take this truck off the pavement. Engaging the 4-wheel drive system on this Tundra is not a quick, intuitive process. Toyota uses a robust transfer case, the kind of mechanical design that takes extra time to engage precisely because it is built to last, but the experience of sitting on a trail, trying multiple combinations of shifter positions and drive modes while the system thinks, is not what you want from a truck at this price. The correct sequence requires patience, specific conditions, and a willingness to restart the process if anything does not align properly. Once engaged, the system works well, and the rear locker adds meaningful capability on technical sections. But getting there is a process that feels out of step with the rest of the truck's refinement. Once the 4-wheel drive is properly engaged, the Tundra TRD Pro reveals what all that suspension engineering is actually for. On moderate trails, it feels relaxed. The Fox shocks absorb irregularities with a composure that makes the truck feel larger than it is, and the overall visibility from the driver's seat is adequate. The boxed hood design limits forward sightlines somewhat, which is a trade-off shared across virtually every current full-size truck. On faster, more open terrain, the chassis comes alive. This is a truck designed to be driven with confidence, and speed unlocks its best qualities. One notable absence in the current lineup is worth mentioning. There is no Tundra Trail Hunter. Toyota has introduced the Trail Hunter designation on both the new 4Runner and the current Tacoma, pairing each with an overlanding focus package that sits alongside the performance-focused TRD Pro. The Tundra, which is actually the most logical candidate for an overlanding-oriented build given its size and payload capacity, does not currently offer that configuration. It is the kind of thing that makes you wonder what is coming rather than what is missing. At a configured price of approximately $79,000 with the performance package and most available options included, the 2026 Tundra TRD Pro is asking you to commit fully. It gives you a hybrid powertrain with real torque, a suspension setup that earns its place on difficult terrain, a composite bed that will outlast the truck's first owner, and a color that will start more conversations than any specification sheet. It asks you to accept some compromises, approach angle, four-wheel drive engagement, and a performance package that costs a significant amount for what it physically contains. Whether those trade-offs matter depends entirely on how you plan to use it. What it does not ask you to do is settle for ordinary. And on that point, this truck keeps its promise. If you made it this far, you already know the next Gear channel delivers reviews worth your time. Show that with a like, and stay tuned because the off-road comparison with a previous generation TRD Pro is coming, and it is going to be a genuinely useful test.